Having begun her career in the banking sector and rising to advising the then Prime Minister of Burundi, Sylvie Kanigi is the only woman to have held the positions of Prime Minister and President. She navigated the volatile ethnic terrain between the Hutu and Tutsi tribes, ensuring that a government functions amidst the civil war. Kinigi was tasked with the sensitive task of reconciliation in an administration and state that was marred with ethnic conflict that bordered on genocide. As an economist, it was her belief that addressing this ill could lead to a concerted effort of national building that would translate to economic development for the state. One may note that her power was publicly displayed when she addressed the nation during the 1993 war, promising severe punishment to perpetrators of the coup and also vowing to institute a commission of inquiry that would bring the culprits to justice. This show of force gained her the support of army generals who threw their weight behind her, thereby bringing a semblance of leadership in an embattled country. Kinigi portrayed calm and leadership at a time when the nation needed immediate guidance. She put herself at the fore in trying to build up Burundi and ultimately resigned her political office to join the United Nations. Sylvie Kinigi is widely recognized for her role as the acting president of Burundi from February to October 1993. Her short-lived presidency came during a critical period in the country's political history, and her leadership played a significant role in shaping the nation's future. Born in Burundi in the late 1940s, Sylvie Kinigi grew up in a society that was grappling with political unrest and socio-economic challenges. Inspired by the desire to make a difference, she embarked on a journey of public service to better the lives of her fellow countrymen. Kinigi entered politics during a time when Burundi was undergoing a transition in leadership. Her dedication to the cause of democracy and the welfare of her people made her a respected figure among her colleagues. In February 1993, following the sudden death of Burundi's President Jean-Baptiste Bagaza, Sylvie Kinigi was appointed as the acting president. It was a crucial moment in the nation's history, as tensions within the country were reaching a boiling point. Kinigi's first priority was to restore calm and stability. She initiated dialogues and negotiations with various factions to promote understanding and unity. Her efforts were directed towards fostering reconciliation and preventing further bloodshed. During her tenure, Kinigi also focused on promoting socio-economic development. She implemented policies to address issues such as poverty, unemployment, and education. Recognizing the importance of empowering women, Kinigi actively promoted gender equality and encouraged the participation of women in all sectors of society. Additionally, Kinigi worked towards strengthening international relations. She represented Burundi at several regional and international forums, advocating for peace, stability, and economic cooperation. Her diplomatic efforts played a crucial role in garnering support from the international community and fostering positive relationships with neighboring countries. Despite her commendable efforts, Sylvie Kinigi faced an uphill battle during her presidency. There were ongoing political disputes, coupled with economic struggles and ethnic tensions. These challenges weakened her administration and resulted in her resignation in October 1993. Although her time in office was brief, Kinigi's presidency left an indelible mark on Burundi's political landscape. Her commitment to peace, reconciliation, and development laid the groundwork for future leaders to build upon. After stepping down from the presidency, Kinigi continued to be involved in various social and political initiatives, advocating for the rights of marginalized communities and working towards sustainable development in Burundi. Sylvie Kinigi's term as acting president of Burundi from February to October 1993 was marked by her dedication to peace, reconciliation, and socio-economic progress. Her achievements in such a short tenure are a testament to her vision and leadership abilities. Although her presidency was challenging, her legacy remains an inspiration to current and future leaders in Burundi. Sylvie Kinigi, née Ntigashira, born November 24, 1953, is a Burundian politician and economist who served as Prime Minister of Burundi from July 10, 1993 to February 7, 1994, and acting president from November 1993 to February 5, 1994, making her the second African woman to serve as a president. Born to a Tutsi family, she earned a degree in banking from the University of Burundi in 1979 and another diploma from the Centre de Formation de la Profession Bancaire in Paris. Politically, Kinigi was closely affiliated with the Union pour le progrès national, UPRNA, Burundi's only legal political party at the time, and was an active member of the Union des Femmes Burundaises, a subgroup of UPRNA, serving as a member of its Central Committee by 1987. In that capacity she lobbied for legislative changes and government measures to benefit women. In 1990 Kinigi was hired by the Bank of the Republic of Burundi to direct its Department of Research and Statistics, and the following year she was placed in charge of Burundi's Structural Adjustment Program. In the summer of 1993 Burundi hosted free elections, which were won by UPRNA's rival, Front pour la Démocratie au Burundi, Frodbu. The new Frodbu president of Burundi, Melchior Ndadaye, appointed Kinigi Prime Minister of Burundi on July 10. Kinigi wished to pursue economic development while she was Prime Minister, but thought that this could not be achieved until ethnic tensions between Tutsis and Hutus were reduced. Thus, she declared that ethnic reconciliation would be her top priority. On October 21 President Ndadaye and several other officials were killed by Tutsi soldiers in a coup attempt, leaving her the highest-ranking official alive and the de facto head of state of Burundi. She joined her surviving ministers in the French embassy until she could return to her residence under French military guard as the coup failed. Though her government proved unable to contain the ethnic violence following the coup, she played a key role in brokering a political compromise that allowed for the election of Cyprien Ntaryamira as the next president. She resigned when he took office in 1994 and assumed an executive position at the Banque Commerciale du Burundi. She then held several international positions before returning to Burundi in 2008 and becoming an independent economic consultant. Sylvie Kanigi was born on November 24, 1953 in Mujoyi, Rwanda-Urundi, today in Bujumbura Rural Province. Ethnically, she is Tutsi. Her father was a merchant, while her mother farmed and maintained their home. The third of 6 children, Kanigi was allowed to attend school while the oldest daughter in the family helped their mother. She was given a primary and secondary education by nuns in the Iyenda parish. She then studied at the University of Burundi under the Faculty of Economic Sciences, graduating in 1979 with a degree in banking and credit. In 1990 she earned a Diplôme d'études supérieures from the Centre de Formation de la Profession Bancaire in Paris. In 1973, Kanigi married a Burundian academic, Firmin Kinigi, who had taught her in school, and had 4 or 5 children with him. He was ethnically Hutu. Her husband supported her desire to further her education and career, and the family hired a maid to take care of their house and children. He died in either 1992 or 1993. Burundi became independent from Belgium as Burundi in July 1962. The country quickly fell under the political domination of Tutsis at the expense of the Hutu majority ethnic group. Kinigi believed that democracy was introduced too rapidly in Burundi without proper preparation, leading to political organizing along ethnic lines and the heightening of ethnic tensions. Burundi's government became controlled by Tutsi military officers, who ruled for approximately 30 years. Politically, Kinigi was closely affiliated with the Union pour le progrès national, UPRNA, Burundi's only legal political party, and was an active member of the Union des Femmes Burundaises, a subgroup of UPRNA, serving as a member of its Central Committee by 1987. In that capacity she lobbied for legislative changes and government measures to benefit women. In 1990 Kinigi was hired by the Bank of the Republic of Burundi to direct its Department of Research and Statistics, while also teaching courses at the University of Burundi. In 1991 she left the job when President Pierre Buyoya appointed her special consultant in the office of the Prime Minister, making her responsible for the implementation of Burundi's structural adjustment program. In that capacity she conducted negotiations with the International Monetary Fund, the World Bank, and foreign donors. Impressed with her work, Buyoya subsequently appointed her permanent secretary in the Ministry of Economic Planning. Prime Minister of Burundi. In the summer of 1993, Burundi underwent a democratic transition. The country hosted free elections, which were won by UPRNA's rival, Front pour la Démocratie au Burundi, Frodbu. The new president of Burundi, Melchior Ndadaye, the leader of Frodbu and the first Hutu to become head of state, offered Kinigi the position of Prime Minister of Burundi in his new government to succeed Adrien Sibomana. She reportedly considered the offer for some time, but eventually decided to accept it, reasoning that she was not more politically inexperienced than the army officers which had previously ruled the country. Furthermore, she was personally acquainted with Ndadaye, having studied alongside him at Parisian institutions and even sat on a committee that judged his academic performance. She was also an acquaintance of Leonard Nyangoma and Cyprien Ntaryamira, two Frodbu politicians who Ndadaye wanted to become ministers in the new government. Speaking of her selection, Kinigi stated that it was a good surprise for Burundian women primarily, but for African women too. Frodbu hardliners were angered by Kinigi's appointment, seeing her assumption of the premiership to be a betrayal by Ndadaye. Radical UPRNA members were also displeased with her selection, since the party did not formally nominate her as a candidate, and they felt that Ndadaye had chosen her purely because she was a Tutsi woman and did not expect to rely on her abilities in office. The government ultimately comprised 2/3 Hutu and 1/3 Tutsi members. Kinigi was one of two women ministers. The government was sworn in on July 10. Kinigi wished to pursue economic development while she was prime minister, but thought that this could not be achieved until ethnic tensions were reduced. Thus, she declared that ethnic reconciliation would be her highest priority. In mid-October she dispatched her ministers across the country on a mission to promote calm and understanding. She went to the northeast to denounce the barbarism of political violence associated with the previous elections. On October 21, President Ndadaye and several other officials were killed by Tutsi soldiers in a coup attempt. A puppet civilian figure, François Ngeze, was presented by military authorities as the new head of state. Kinigi's bodyguards remained loyal to her during the takeover. She and other senior government figures took refuge in the French embassy. She was the highest-ranking civilian official to survive the coup attempt. From the embassy she continued to issue directives on government policy. Buyoya and his predecessor, Jean-Baptiste Bagaza, both gave their support to her government, and the coup failed due to an outbreak of violence and international condemnation. On November 7 she left the embassy and returned to her residence under French military guard. The death of Ndadaye and others in the presidential line of succession left her de facto head of state of Burundi. Tutsi extremists continued to employ violence in the aftermath of the coup, intimidating Kinigi's government and hampering its ability to provide leadership to the country. Kinigi's government, comprising 15 of the original 22 ministers, stabilized the situation in Bujumbura, the capital, but proved unable to contain the ethnic violence across the country following the coup, in which thousands died. The radical Tutsi UPRNA faction became disgruntled with her actions before and especially during the crisis. With regards to her failure to attend a commemoration for the anniversary of the death of erstwhile UPRNA leader Louis Rwagasore on October 13, the newspaper Panafrica wrote, "For a prime minister who said she was from UPRNA, missing this ceremony was for some proof that Sylvie Kinigi was not from UPRNA." Some do not hesitate to say that if it hadn't been for this October 21 coup, she would now be at Frodbu. The newspaper L'Observateur argued, not having been mandated by UPRNA, knowing simply that she is prime minister thanks to God and to Ndadaye and to Frodbu, the First Lady will behave during the crisis of October 1993 as one would expect. She will be totally absent, and when she tries to come forward, it is to tirelessly repeat the theses of Frodbu. On November 15 she wrote a letter to the Secretary General of the Organization of African Unity, appealing for a military intervention to restore order in the country. The army and opposition politicians denounced this as a proposal for a recolonization of Burundi. In December her government appointed a commission of inquiry led by the Procurator General to investigate human rights abuses that had occurred after the coup, but its work never began due to objections from the parliamentary opposition. I wanted peace and normal conditions, but my collaborators wanted me to declare a coup d'état. You can't carry on like that. When I managed to get a successor elected in a reasonably acceptable manner, I resigned. Kinigi speaking on her role after the coup, 1999. Kinigi, burdened by the leadership responsibility placed upon her by the political vacuum, sought to enable the selection of a new president. On January 9, 1994, at her direction, the National Assembly modified Article 85 of the Burundian Constitution, empowering itself to elect the next president of Burundi. 4 days later, the National Assembly elected Enquiry to become president in a vote, 78-1. Enquiry was scheduled to be inaugurated on January 22, but the parliamentary opposition, led by UPRNA, filed a suit with the Constitutional Court to block the installment. They argued that Article 182 of the Constitution, which stipulated that the document could not be modified in times of national crisis, rendered the National Assembly's amending of Article 85 void. Frodba parliamentarians argued that the change was necessary to fill the vacancy, since holding a national election to replace the former president would have been impossible. The Constitutional Court ruled in favor of the opposition in a decision split along ethnic lines. The Hutu justices subsequently resigned, and on January 29 Kinigi's government issued a decree dismissing the Tutsi justices. This led to several days of violence in Bujumbura. With the assistance of United Nations representative Amadou Abdallah, Kinigi brokered a compromise with the opposition, whereby Enquiry would be installed as president with a new UPRNA prime minister and the Constitutional Court would be reinstated. Enquiry was sworn in on February 5. Kinigi resigned as prime minister when he was inaugurated. On February 7 Enquiry appointed Anatole Kanyankako to replace her. Kinigi was the second woman to serve as president of an African country, after Carmen Pereira of Guinea-Bissau, who also held the office in an interim fashion. Opinions on her time in government were starkly divided. Many of her Tutsi contemporaries regarded her as vacuous and a negative influence on the country, with Pan-Africa denouncing her as Madame Fiasco. She retained a significant amount of respect among Frodba members. Responding to criticism of her leadership, Mark Manarikaiser wrote, "What could she have done in the face of an unforeseen and unprecedented chaotic situation?" Reflecting on her time in government in 1999, Kinigi said it made people realize that a woman can do even more than a man can do, with the soul of a mother and strong will, at the highest level of politics. Linking her to her contemporary in Rwanda, Agathia Uwilingiyimana, political scientist Jane Jansen wrote that the two women owed their temporary rise to the top to an attempt to find an accommodation to the ethnic conflicts that plagued their respective countries. Later work. Upon leaving government, Kinigi assumed an executive position at the Banque Commerciale du Burundi. She then held several international positions, including jobs at the United Nations Educational, Scientific, and Cultural Organization, the United Nations Development Programme, representing it in Equatorial Guinea, Cameroon, and Senegal, and the Office of the UN Special Envoy for the Great Lakes region in Nairobi, where she served as a political advisor and program coordinator. She returned to Burundi in 2008 and became an independent economic consultant. In that capacity she advocated for the right of women to inherit land and property and for the use of democracy. In 2016 the Carter Center selected Kinigi to lead its International Election Observer mission in Zambia for that year's general elections. Thank you for watching this video.